looks like we stumbled across a ARG website. As you see, it looks like some kind of static overlay with some black border. You have a photograph right in the middle. It looks like it's almost 8-bit type of art, something that you would see in the first Nintendo system. And the back button is featured right here. Now, we're not in the main root of this website. We're in one of its subdirectories. So let's go ahead and click back and see what kind of ARG this is. Now it's taking us to a page that keeps on displaying a bunch of toucans, it looks like, that flash different color hues. Now it looks like we could select one of the 16, so let's choose one of the middle ones. Click that one right there. Now it's bringing us to a different page. Now this ARG may have some kind of meaning, so we're going to go ahead and see what this deep web page has to feature. Looks like they have the Illuminati all seeing eye and some kind of poetry. Good news, you are a businessman, businesswoman, artist, politicians, students, etc. And you want to become big, powerful, and famous in the world. Join us to become one of our official members today. You shall be given an ideal chance to visit the Illuminati and his representatives after registration begins. Once you complete it, no sacrifice or human life is needed. The Illuminati Brotherhood, origins along wealth and famous in life. You have the full access to remove yourself from poverty, from the life that you are in now. Only a member who has been initiated into the Church of Illuminati has the authority to bring any member to the church. So before you contact anybody, you must be linked by who is already a member. Join us today and realize your dreams. We also help out members in protection of drugs. Don't be failed to see the light. Money, power, fame, and wealth become your title in just 3 days. If interested to join the Illuminati Brotherhood, contact us today via email. Don't hesitate to contact us. You must be 18 years or above. Does not have any kind of scam membership fee. Regarding plan commitment, Illuminati Kingdom, email this email. So it looks like this part of the ARG represents initiation through the Illuminati. So what this ARG is displaying on its own server and webpage is that it is connected to the Illuminati somehow. Probably just some kind of gimmick for the ARG. So let's go ahead and click back and let's go to the next page, to a different page. It looks like we have a fish jumping out of the water, some kind of 8-bit background of a lake and a forest, and then a bird in a nest. So I'm going to click on the bird and see where that takes us. So it says it looks like there's some cussing, so I'm not going to repeat the cuss words. I'm just going to go ahead and look at it, see the message, and it's basically a bird that's talking a lot of garbage. So we're going to go ahead and click back. It doesn't look like there's anything else to click on this ARG page. And this time I will click on the fish. Now it looks like we're underwater, and you can see a bizarre face actually in this part of the underwater sea. The only thing to click on is this and that, so we'll click on the little circular sphere. The mirror. Removed banners. Flash added. Music as directed media. And it looks like it may be a song posted by the ARG creator. and see what else is contained within this ARG. It's fairly interesting that this would be on the deep web. It doesn't seem like it's too sinister or something that would be completely out of the norm for internet users. But it's still interesting. So let's click on this toucan to the far left corner and see what page brings up. So Dino Nuggy. Home. Dino Nuggy. This is a poor innocent dino is being constantly terrorized by your overwhelmingly obvious will to eat the little nugget. Poor little fella. And then it says F you. So there's 3 links. There's a home button. Oh, we are currently on the home button. So we're going to choose link 2. It brings us back to the toucan. So I'll click link 3 instead. Same consequence. And same consequence. So let's go ahead and click on the top right one. If you're looking for Jesus, try getting dizzy, then look at the one eye. Good luck. What? Doesn't make sense. And it's definitely bad for my eyes. Skipping this page. And it looks like we reached a certain part of the ARG that the page was never created, or I wouldn't have necessarily access or rights to see this page. So we're going to back out. And I think that's it for this ARG. For those who want to study more of it, you'll have to search the deep web on one of the crawlers to find it. I don't necessarily know the name, so good luck. We'll back out of this one. Looks like we found some interesting poetry and written material on the darker side of the internet. So let's take a look at this. It says, "The truth. I saw the hopelessness of my predicament early on. I was too afraid to sleep as a child, so I dabbled in the thought experiments, mostly about God, heaven, and hell. I prayed for wisdom and pledged to sacrifice everything to attain it. And sacrifice I have. The Israelites wandered 40 years in the desert. Some things can only be found by wandering. Jesus waited 30 years to start talking. I am humbled to be only 10 years behind. It is remarkably simple and right in front of our faces, almost embarrassingly so. They hid the truth in the best possible places. Talmud, Bible, Quran, Shrimad, Bhagavad Gita, Tripitakas, Guru Granth Shiva, and Holy Gamas. All of these profess the belief in a truth that cannot be seen, but is truth nonetheless. We are all born pure. We are, each of us, completely unique and singular. We are free to follow our individual tastes and whims in pursuits of ethereal happiness, the bliss. There is but one real sin. The apple represents a lie. The first lie is a divergence from bliss to misery. The unforgivable sin is to lie. It is the real meaning of the fable of Adam and Eve. We are all born pure. We are, each of us, completely unique and singular. We are free to follow our individual tastes and whims in pursuit of ethereal happiness, the bliss. There is but one real sin. The apple represents a lie. The first lie is a divergence from bliss to misery. This is the truth. Man's number is 666, but that is not 666 that it represents a number. A representation of that number, also known as 2/3, with every well-established group, meaning it has stable membership for a reasonable amount of time and will contain that number of frauds. This is true in all religions, but shrinkingly so in those with Abrahamic roots. It is also true in political parties of popular culture. The sacrifice of one's own uniqueness to alter or conform is the saddest of all possible existence. It leads men to Solomon's end. Meaningless, meaningless, everything is meaningless. There is nothing new under the sun. It is said Solomon was the wisest of men. We see a correlation between wisdom and suffering. I have seen wicked men and fools, a good deal of both, and I believe they both get what they deserve in the end. But the fools first. Wicked men are the lifeblood of the industry, the catalyst for change, the vehicle that delivered the power of the Almighty in the form of electrical current. We have arrived, but the hearts of men are easily corrupted, and the ring of power has a will of its own. But that was not my fate. I could always see it. This was a simple thought experiment, as I had as a small child. I was the first step in eternal journey. I thought, what if I had been born in another place or another time? The customs of the people, the religion, even things like food would seem crazy to me. The social norms for privacy or manners would seem arbitrary. Then it dawned on me. If that were true of any other place or time, it must also be true of here and now. Mine explosion, but it was just the beginning. That is child's play. I've been given several opportunities to become incredibly wealthy during my lifetime, and I've never had the faith to act on them. I never wanted to participate in this culture. I don't want to watch the news and feel like I need to be politically active on a large scale. I wanted to do my job, help people as much as I can, enjoy my family, and just sit in total, constant amazement of the world. The films and the music, the games, the competitive sports with amazing athletes, the internet, endless innovation technologies. We live in a world where any kid with something to say can express themselves live on YouTube with his phone, then watch a Harvard lecture on relative the same damn phone. Poor people eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. This creamed peanuts and sweetness of thousand fruits bursting forth like sugar on your tongue. So many people have lost the ability to see. I have to help them. You have to help them. They say you will know this is for you because your ears will burn. I don't know what that means. I await your response. Thank you. So it seems like this website is just based about a specific viewpoint of the earth, speaking about first the original sin, which represents lie, the first lie, and that truth is about being informed about God and his eternal bliss that he brings to earth. Also, he speaks his mind about he doesn't want to be a part of this wealthy type mind or worldly matters. He would rather sit back and watch the world. And that's it. Basically, he speaks the truth. It's a pretty interesting page, and I'm going to back out. We're going to look at the next one. So it looks like we stumbled across the Onion Wallet website for the deep web. It's simple and secure. Bitcoin Wallet. Your anonymous Tor Bitcoin wallet and laundry. Onion Wallet futures. Free Bitcoin mixer. You will always get completely different bitcoins on withdrawals with no taint to your receiving address. Safe storage. We keep most of the bitcoins in secured, encrypted, offline storage. Protect your funds with a transaction PIN. Anonymized registration. We don't need to know any private data. Very simple user interface. No complicated options and settings. No fees except the Bitcoin network fee. Get started using Bitcoins in 2 simple steps. Register an online account on Onion Wallet and write down your username, password, and optionally PIN at a secure place. Purchase Bitcoins to your Bitcoin address in your Onion Wallet account using the example one of the following exchange service below. Why should you own an Onion Wallet? Bitcoin and Bitcoin wallets itself are not really anonymized. They only provide so-called pseudonyms, which means as long as no one knows which Bitcoin address you are using, you are anonymous. That anonymity is easily destroyed when you deal with some party that knows your real identity. For example, if you sell or buy Bitcoins on an exchange, and with more and more exchanges or other services following AML and KYC policies, it's getting really hard to stay anonymous to the government agencies when dealing with Bitcoins. Whoa, I guess so. Bitcoin, I guess, allows people to stay anonymous on their so-called online purchases through the web, specifically the onion web or the deep web, which also makes me think that definitely wouldn't want to own any kind of Bitcoins. It also sounds like Bitcoins aren't any kind of currency that could be of any value to real life use. So let's go ahead and go on to the next line though. Onion Wallet helps you break that chain since it's hosted at a Tor hidden service and no one knows who we are. We do not have to follow any AML or KYC policies, so we cannot be forced to give out any of our users' information. Even if we wanted to, we do not have that much information about our users since through Tor we do not see any IPs or other sensitive data. Onion Wallet mixes all Bitcoins, which makes tracing you on Bitcoin blockchain impossible. Bitcoin and Tor, a perfect team. When using Bitcoin together with Tor, you are combining the best online money with the best encryption and privacy technology available. It's simply not possible to know you are not under surveillance when using normal internet websites for managing your Bitcoins. Only a shared Bitcoin web wallet hosted as a Tor hidden service will provide you maximum anonymity and privacy. Free Bitcoin laundry, Bitcoin washing, Bitcoin mixer. Laundry your Bitcoins without any fees. All we charge is the network fee we pay to Bitcoin miners for mixing your Bitcoins and washing them. It is best to use a Tor hidden service like Onion Wallet because all mixers operating on the ClearNet websites include CoinFog and are subject to government control. Sign up now. Now, it looks like this is sort of bad for government officials, any kind of federal agency or police agencies that want to track criminal activity in the Bitcoin blockchain, the public blockchain, because then they could just basically, a criminal could come to this website, wash their Bitcoins, and then be done with it and spend it. Or I guess what they would do is maybe spin the Bitcoins and then wash it and get new coins. I don't know how it works necessarily because I've never owned Bitcoin's currency, but it still seems like an interesting way for bad people essentially to hide their activity from the government. So I'm going to back out of this one. Let's go to the next one. So it looks like I stumbled across a computer security website, and the owner, it looks like, is named Kevin, hence the name Kevin's website. And so we're going to read one of the blog posts that he has. It was the August 31st entry of 2007, and it was written, of course, by Kevin. So let's go ahead and begin. Spear phishing with Word macro and decoy documents. Microsoft Word macros are often utilized in spear phishing attacks. These documents typically include a lure to trick the user into clicking enable content. However, after executing the payload, the user may become suspicious of the lack of effect, as users are increasingly aware of cyber threats and the importance of reporting such attacks. The use of a decoy document becomes necessary for a successful penetration test. Previously, only advanced persistence threats use decoy documents. However, other attackers are catching on, and the ease of producing such decoys means that not doing so is just lazy penetration testing. A phishing report can mean the difference between a successful penetration test and getting detected and kicked out of the network. Unfortunately, popular penetration testing tools such as PowerShell Empire and Nishhag Do not include an option to deploy decoy documents. Most decoy documents are deployed using a PowerShell script to download and open a new document. Unfortunately, this action can be suspicious and PowerShell can be blocked or restricted. After some research and testing, I found a simple yet effective method to remove the initial lure and display the decoy document in a smooth and unsuspicious manner. My method uses hidden text and does not download or open a new document. However, this relies on the victim having hidden text enabled. Fortunately, this is enabled by default. My technique involves using the first page as the lure and then appending the decoy document after the first page. The decoy component is then given the hidden font property to hide it. This also hides the presence of the additional pages, so the user only sees the initial lure. The macro will execute the payload and then delete the first page containing the lure and display only all hidden text, displaying the decoy. The user will think clicking on Enable Content has actually enabled the contents, unsuspecting of malicious payload executing in the background. The problem is that it changes the document, so Word will prompt the user to save the document when closed. However, with some researching and hacking, I was able to bypass this dialog. After browsing Microsoft's Word VBA reference, I found the application document before close event along with some example code. Using their templates, I saved. However, I found out that there will only be an error because the Save Changes dialog prevents the document from closing. By canceling the close operation and then closing the document without saving, I was able to overcome this obstacle. See the main post below. So it looks like this gentleman is creating penetration testing for malicious attacks through email phishing. So essentially, he would create this malicious attack and send it to a corporation or enterprise. One of the employees would click on the bait, the lure would execute the virus into the computer, and depending on the payload of the virus, it could get into the network, access to resources and materials from the server, and it's potentially erase data or encrypt it. So seems like a pretty not only illegal virus to implement on any kind of enterprise level, that he's a very smart hacker that has the capability to use Microsoft and Microsoft codes that they provided as a hacking tool to get unsuspecting victims to click on the virus. So we're going to back out of this webpage and go to the next one. Yes. So we stumbled across a website that hosts the Bible in different translations. The reason why I have chosen to host this in the deep web videos is because I think this is a very important subject. If I were in China, I wouldn't be able to read a Bible. If I possessed a Bible in China, I could get locked up for probably 10 to 20 years, regardless if I was a born native Chinese citizen or if I was a foreign legal Chinese citizen. If I had the Bible, they would throw me in their Chinese communist prison. So if I was in China or any other part of the world that wouldn't allow me to read the Bible, and I wanted to read the Bible safe and secure, I would go through the deep web and go to this website, and hopefully through a proper security and VPN programs implemented, I would be able to read the Bible without the fear of being locked up in prison or being killed. So let's go ahead and read one of these scriptures in declaration to our freedoms here in the country that I live in, America. So the translation that we are going to pick is the American Standard Version Bible, and we're going to read one of the New Testament books. I think first chapter of Galatians we'll read in this English translations. So in Galatians chapter 1, Paul, an apostle, not for men, neither through men, but through Jesus Christ and God the Father, who raised him from the dead, and all the brethren that are with me, unto the churches of Galatia. Grace to you and peace from God the Father and our Lord Jesus Christ, who gave himself for our sins, that he might deliver us out of this present evil world, according to the will of our God and Father, to whom be the glory forever and ever. Amen. I marvel that you are such quickly removing from him that called you in grace of Christ unto a different gospel, which is not another gospel, only there are some that trouble you, and would pervert the gospel of Christ. But though we and an angel from heaven should preach unto you any gospel other than which preach unto you, let him be anathema. For now I am seeking the favor of men or God, or am I striving to please men? If I were still pleasing men, I should not be a servant of Christ. For I make known to you, brethren, as touching the gospel which was preaching by me, nor is not after men, for neither did I receive it from men, nor was I taught, but it came through revelation of Jesus Christ. For ye have heard of my manner of life in time past in the Jewish religion, how that beyond measure I was persecuting the church of God, and made havoc of it. I have advanced in the Jews, in the Jewish religion, beyond many of my own age, among my countrymen, being more excellent zealous for my traditions of my fathers. But when it was good pleasure of God, who separates me even from my mother's womb, I called me through his grace to reveal his Son in me, that I might preach him among the Gentiles. Straightway I conferred not with flesh and blood, neither went I up to Jerusalem to them that were apostles before me, but I went away into Arabia, and again I returned unto Damascus. Then after 3 years I went up to Jerusalem to visit Cappas, and tarried with him 15 days. But other of the apostles say I none, save James the Lord's brother. Now touching the things which I write unto you, behold, before God I lie not. Then I came into the regions of Syria, and I was still known by face unto the churches of Judea, which were in Christ, but they only heard the word that I say. And he that once persecuted us now preached the faith of which he once made havoc. But they only heard say, he that once persecuted us now preaches the faith which he made us on havoc, and they glorified God in me. So this was one of the readings from the Bible. Essentially, this website is very important if you're living in a country that suppresses freedom of religion and that disciplines you or puts you in prison for reading the Bible or owning a Bible. So let's go and back out and see the next one. So it looks like we stumbled across the website hosted by Daniel's hosting service, which is on the Tor service and network relays. And it looks like the web page is just a poem for now, and maybe one hyperlink, which is highlighting the word at anonymity. So let's go ahead and read his so-called poem and what he has to say. I am Udis. I am Smiley. This is not net, no pictures, no sharing, no copying. It's nothing, just smileys. This is my first deep web link. Very exciting, yet boring, and sorrow. I was asked by someone once, do you believe in God? I thought for a while and said yes. Then the second question was, if God created us, who created God? Again, I was speechless, and have no explanation. I enjoy my life, more than I could and should. I think life is beautiful, yet mysterious and challenging. Love my life, so great to live long. So there's no other parts of the website. I clicked on the at anonymity and it just brings us to another website. So we're going to back out of this one. Alright, let's check out the video of the week. That's it. I don't have much to say about it. It was very haunting and frightening. So I stumbled across another website that does with random blogging posts. So I'm going to read one of their entries. How to reverse engineer a 3D model format, the story of MDLX. Well, looks like I'm late again. Haven't been posting as much as I wished lately because studying got in the way, but I still did some cool stuff on this blog, being a video explaining current object reconditioning in AI, or a KH2 model importer, this time fixed and working. Since I wanted to avoid posting a rant here and just fill my blog with useless content, I'm going to write an article about the latter, but I'm still doing other stuff outside of the public scope and even planning for an even bigger stuff publicly, hint Linux Foundation. But anyways, let's get started with a quick backstory about KH2 hacking. Kingdom Hearts 2 overview. Kingdom Hearts 2 is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Remember how Earthbound was over-engineered by Sides In? For example, its text engine. Well, KH2 is exactly that, except on everything. On an over-engineered console. Oh boy. As KH2 was once again before being a piece of scrutinized technology. Once upon a time, we had an ISO of this game which contained files. Let's us look at them. So it looks like they display some of the files contained within the ISO, and ISO is an image file and storing a bunch of grouped data. Most images are created by backing up a game from a disk and then putting it on your computer. Then later you could build or download a PlayStation emulator, for example, and then you would just insert that ISO PlayStation disk in the digital emulator for PlayStation and play the game. So there's all the different files and codes, example code that would be in the ISO file. Let's skip on to the next part. Fine. We get several files. Let us then list the files used by the PS2 itself. System.cnf is what the PlayStation 2 looks up to boot the game. Specifies the ELF and stuff. CLPM underscore 666.75 is the ELF of the game, the main executable. OPRP 300.image is a CD DVD module used to load the game. SIO2 man.irx is the module which is used to load another module. SIO2D.irx is the module which handles memory cards. DBCman.irx is the remote manager for DBC, whatever that is. CQEXlib pad2 /ds20.irx seems like some sort of DualShock library for pads. MCman.irx is the memory card manager. MCServe.irx is the memory card server, allowing you to control remotely. MCman, why is this on retail? LIBSD.irx is the sound library. LIBSSL.irx is a Square Sounds library used for KH2, BGM, SEB, etc. And then we have our four files: kh2.idx, kh2.image, ovl.idx, and ovl.image. This is where the real fun begins. As a side note, before continuing, both KH Recom and KHI, which were released on the PlayStation 2 as well, had a special LBA inside the ISO which told you offsets as where the files in the ISO were, used as both an obfuscation mechanism and a quicker way to read files. So we had it easy on this game. To get back to topic, those files contain all the assets of the game users, and after some reverse engineering, we can conclude that they use this format, written using this beautiful structure, which I encourage you to check out. So he lists the code underneath what he was just speaking about. If you want to go download the code, you will have to find this blog and website and post. So good luck on that. And the image files are just a bunch of data you read using the IDX files. We get some hashed files. You know what a hash is, right? In a nutshell, it is basically converts the file name or the file into a number using the file formula below. After boring you with all the math equations, the main idea to remember is that this is one way. I repeat, one way. You cannot retrieve the file name out of the number. What does this mean for us? We have a bunch of files which have file names as helpful as 8302162. To retrieve those files, we had several choices, but we took the least effort path. The game was calculated on the fly. The file names used, hashed using the real names. Say the game tries to load the file. object/p_ex120.mdlx. It goes this way. Load_file. Hashtag name. So we did what any sane person would do and made the game print out the used files. Below is a pinch of code to be used with the PCSX2 that does just that, courtesy of Crazy Cat Zoo. So underneath he posted code which will allow you to use it for hacking. Now we have a more or less complete list of files with their potential original names and brute force some others. So we have access to the assets of the game. Before going further though, the game contains inside the image some other IDX files which contain more entries inside the image. This is to take into account if you want a complete list. We then begin reverse engineering randomly some asset files, and we saw there was a pattern. Most files were exactly packed as a bar container, supposedly binary archives. So a container in a container in a container. Sure, the bar format is defined below as another structure. So they list the code below. Obviously what they're saying is that it's easy to retrieve data from that kind of code formatting where they just put a container within a container within a container, not necessarily encrypting the data, easily allowing hackers to get access over the data. The format seems basic enough. Alright, there is a type value which can and does have a lot of different types, which would be a pain in the butt to reverse all of them. Without it, that seems okay with me. Now, what I forgot to tell you is that some KH2 files are not bars. Because why not? So, we end up with custom formats inside bars and custom formats. Great. Just what I needed. Spend more time reverse engineering stuff. Anyways, today is not the day to dive into all those fancy formats. So let us focus on just the MDLX format. The first thing we notice with the MDLX format is that it is a bar with a variable number of items, but it rarely goes below 3. The main format will be the focus on today, though the format is the type of 0x04 inside of a bar file, as other types are usually objective definitions which bone to lock on, etc., textures, AI, and other stuff like that. And this is where I definitely kindly ask you to read back on this article of mine to give you an idea of PlayStation 2 3D development. Alright, after you read, you're back. Great. Now we can go on. So as you read, KH2 splits models in what we call subparts, which are mainly just assembly codes. Boom. This is the madness we're into. You know what's crazy cool with that? If you want to make a model importer, you need not only to figure out the format, but at the very least make or get a compiler. and be wary of the syntax used and be sure everything is correct. That also means you need to reverse engineer more code, which isn't even really code. That's even more awesome. Great. All I wanted to do in my life for a useless game. But let's get back to a higher level overview of the format, stealing my documentation from my model importer, bar. So we list the code underneath. As you can see, we're going to scan past that and go to the next chapter or paragraph. In a nutshell, the model header MDL_H contains model part headers for each mesh of the given model, a mesh per texture, which themselves contain model subparts listed in the DMA section as the DMA_VIF entries. MAT contains the index of bones used by the current model subpart, referenced by its header, and the bone list is contained for model part and not subpart. And there's even more. Usually we have at the very least 2 models inside one, because one of them has to be the model shadow, and of course which have a slightly different format than the original one. Great. Let us view each part of the model subpart by increasing order of difficulty to make all of this easier. So as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, this website speaks about how this gentleman hacked a specific game and used its code to replicate a 3D model program. So we're going to back out of this one, and of course this will be the last website of this series episode. If you enjoyed what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe, and you have a good afternoon or evening.